Hello, Tom Vassel's office. This is Chris speaking.
Hello there, no, Dr. Phil. Will you tell me everything?
Oh, hello, Dr. Phil.
Oh, from Texas.
Yes, Tom would love to do an interview with you.
How many of you
Uh-huh.
look inside, sir?
Let me double check that date. We will be at a convention. Is this a Zoom call?
Oh, okay, well,
He can make that happen.
get you up the horse and let you jump on back.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so, he could step outside of the hall for maybe 30 minutes or so. 3 p.m., you say?
Uh-huh.
Let me schedule that in. Okay.
Okay.
So just to confirm, 3 p.m., you can catch him outside. How about that? Hello, Dr. Phil? Are you there? Welcome back to another Rapid Fire Roundup here at the Dice Tower. My name is Chris, and I'm going to be going through 10 games that I've played recently that I wasn't part of the review of. Now, you know that with the recent changes where we're having more multi-person reviews, I've been in a lot of different reviews of games I've played lately, but here's still 10 that I thought, hey, I want to share my thoughts and my ratings on these. You're going to notice that for the first time, I'm actually going to be including number ratings in here, and so this is an opportunity where you get to really see what I think about a game. And also another reason why we're not going to average scores of games, because what if I give a game a lower number here that would have changed the average score? Just, if you like a game here at the Dice Tower and you're a reviewer, you like it, and that's what matters. And if I don't like it, I don't like it. But I like a lot of these. I'm going to start with the game that I enjoyed the least, and I'm going to end with the game that I enjoyed the most. The game I'm going to be starting off with today is called Rule Benders. Gave this a 3. I did not like anything about this one. I thought that it sounded like World's Fair 1893, one of my favorite games, with this area majority kind of clever mechanism, mixed with the randomness and the chaos of Flux, and I did not like that combination. It outstayed its welcome, is overly long, is quite fiddly, and I gave it a 3. Next up, Mythic Mischief. This is a game that I gave a 4. It's not that this is a poorly designed or a bad game necessarily, but it's really bad for me. I do not like this style of game whatsoever. It's highly tactical. You can AP and think things overly long. AP standing for analysis paralysis, if you've never heard of it. We have so many options on your turn that you could just slog the game down to just a crawl. And being on the other end of the person who is overly thinking their turns is so not fun. Not my speed of game at all. I feel like there are games that are multiplayer solitaire, where it doesn't matter what the other players do. This is the kind of game where it doesn't matter what other players do during their turn. You can't really think of different moves to make. You just have to wait until it's your turn again and say, okay, this is what there is on the board. Now I have to sit there and overly think things out. I would rather play this goofy and silly, but it's got too much to it to play it that way. So for me, a 4. I don't like this type of game, but it doesn't mean that you won't. Obviously, everyone else enjoyed it much more than me. That's a 4. Next up, Goofy Movie, a Goofy Movie game. I gave this a 5. It's very unfortunate. I like this IP. I'm so charmed by a lot about it. I love this movie, but the game doesn't do it for me. It's a bit too simple, and I found that while I enjoyed playing it with my kid for a little bit, each time I played it, the number dropped. It dropped significantly each time I played. I might have given it a 6 or a 7 on my first play, but there's just not enough there. And it's so much to a degree that I found I don't really want to play this one anymore. I'd really absolutely suggest different games to play with my kiddo. So one of my bigger disappointments, Goofy Movie, a 5. Spook Manor, I give a 6. This is a card drafting game with a haunted house theme. I really like the theme. This is a game that I would play again. What's the difference between a 6 versus a 5? Well, the 6 I would play again. This is one that if you said, hey, let's play it, yeah, sure. I'm just not going to seek it out. The idea of drafting cards and building this haunted house sounds really cool. I like the art. I like the idea of the different types of set collection. But I found that the idea of building certain things next to each other, the scoring just wasn't that strong. The scoring wasn't as intuitive, and it had a few little hiccups with scoring. I think scoring is kind of the biggest thing. If that had been tightened up a bit, I might have really enjoyed it. This is a little freebie game that came with monsters on board if you did the Kickstarter. I don't even know if you can really find it elsewhere, but not one that I would encourage you to seek out. But I know that when Camilla did the review, she liked it a lot. She was really charmed by it. So just a difference of opinion. Next up, Magic Mountain. This is the Kinderspiel award winner, the best children's game in Germany, 2022. I can absolutely see why so. I gave this one a 7.5. This is a Plinko board style thing, which is always fun, with a little bit of theme. Move the witches along. I was very happy with this one. I thought that this one kind of teaches little probability kind of things, planning, and even though it's very chaotic because it's Plinko, you could start on one side of the board and the marble pretty much can move to the other side of the board. By the time it's done, it's not about where it lands, it's about where it goes along the journey. So I thought that it teaches kids kind of how to plan and mitigate the possibility of things with with a fun theme and a fun game. I really enjoyed it. Next up, Welcome to the Moon. This is an 8. I enjoyed Welcome to. I enjoyed but didn't love Welcome to New Vegas, but Welcome to the Moon is fantastic. This is Welcome to for the experienced player. This makes an odd first impression, but I think that it's really rewarding as you go through the different maps and see how many different games there are all in one box. It's almost like, to me, kind of like Rolling Realms. Less about the combinations, but the fact that there's so many different ways to play the same game. It's really impressive. Welcome to the Moon is an 8 for me. I really like it. Next up, Rift Force Beyond. This is an expansion to the Rift Force, a 2-player head-to-head card game, which Tom describes, and I kind of agree with him. It feels like an Ameritrash version of like Lost Cities or Battle Line, one of those card games. I'm surprised I like it as much as I do. I give this an 8, by the way. I'm surprised I enjoy it as much as I do because I don't typically like these head-to-head card battler type games, but because of that connection to games like Lost Cities, it feels more clever, it feels more interesting to me, and the Rift Force Beyond expansion adds new factions, just ways to mix up, and I really like all the new factions, and I like playing with them, and they're very fun. There's a solo mode included, which I tried to play a few different times, and I didn't love it. I like the idea of playing against a person more than I liked playing against I had a few hiccups with the solo system, but I thought that it's probably a well-made one, just not the type of game I want to play against an Automa deck. So, an 8, mostly just for more factions. Hooray! Next up, Great Plains. This is a 2-player head-to-head little game, small box in the Lookout Spiel line. I give this an 8.5. I'm really impressed with this one. This one came out last year. I sometimes say this is an older game. Well, it was just last year, actually. This is a game that I think flew under the radar for a lot of people. I would highly recommend it. It is kind of an area control type game. It's almost like an abstract game where you're just putting pieces out. There's a few special powers that feel really clever. It's a game that's very minimalistic, and yet with it there's random board setups. All you're doing on your turn is you're putting a piece out. Maybe you grab a special tile, maybe you activate a special tile, but it's so good. It's very tight, very thinky. The type of abstract game that I enjoy more, where you get to make fun and clever plays rather than worry that you're going to get cut off by your opponent and have to sit there and overthink things. Breezy game, you can just play it, mix up the tiles, play it again. I'm really impressed with it. I might go seek out my own copy of Great Plains. Next up, Sniper Elite, the board game, a hidden movement game that I give an 8.5. I am also surprised I like this as much as I do. The hidden movement genre doesn't always work for me. I usually want things more simple than complicated, and this one does have its rules. It does have its moments where you kind of have to say, hey, this is how this interacts, especially because the sniper, the hidden player, has special powers that you have to remember to activate at the right times and stuff, but I don't know why this one just sings for me. It's cool. I like that both sides are very deadly, and so it doesn't feel like one side's weaker, and that's the other side of it. It's just that as a sniper, you can't get cornered, you can't get caught. But even if you do get cornered, there are lots of clever ways you can get out of it. I really like this one. David Thompson is one of the designers, or one of the co-designers on this one, and his stuff, his historical approach to games, it's really impressive. He's a guy that I'm keeping an eye out for a lot of his games, and so Sniper Elite, 8.5 for me. And lastly, Cat in the Box. I gave a 9. This is a trick-taking game. I find that I just over the years more and more really like this genre. Cat in the Box almost feels like a deconstruction of the genre in a really weird way. As you play cards out, they have no color on them, so you assign them a color. It sounds like it shouldn't work, and yet it does. The pressure of not being the one to cause a paradox by not having any eligible cards left to play in hand because you slowly say, hey, I don't have any more blue cards in hand. You actually have to indicate that with a token, and you can no longer play blue cards. So you have to be very cautious how you choose to run out of suits in this. And then the little bit of point connection by having lots of things together on the central board. It's so good. I really like this one. So Cat in the Box gets a 9 from me. I'm really impressed with it. So there you go. That is just a rapid-fire look at the games that I've been playing recently that I didn't necessarily do the review of, but now you know my thoughts on them. Hope that was helpful. Hope that you enjoyed. And until next time, have yourselves a fantastic day.